Climbers, eating a greasy cheeseburger once a month doesn't make you fat. Eating a salad once a month doesn't make you skinny. And sitting down to write once a month doesn't make you a pro songwriter. So today we're going to talk about...
Ouch.
Yeah. Today we're going to talk about diet and exercise. Your songwriting, diet, and exercise. Johnny, do your thing.
Welcome to the Climb. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. You don't need to ask for anybody's permission to get an audience and create cash flow. And you don't need to ask for anybody's permission to be a writer and to be creating and getting your art in front of the people that can advance your career as a writer. But what you are going to need is some leverage, some proof that what you're doing is valuable to the industry and valuable in the marketplace. That's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. See what we did there? That's a Baxter from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. He is a hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. He's had a couple number ones in gospel in the last couple years and got a couple cuts just happening this week. I mean, the man is on in fuego. And what I love about Brent is he helps songwriters like you turn pro by teaching you how to write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then on a regular basis, the final step of that, when you become competitive and you become professional, is to get relationships, to monetize that and to exploit those titles. And that's what Brent does here. And you can find him very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it's complicated, but thankfully, Johnny's smart. If you're an artist looking to increase your... And just by the way, I wrote that last part about him being smart. He didn't write that in his own intro, just for the record. Anyway, if you're an artist looking to increase...
They think that.
I don't know, just in case. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, if you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Yeah, he wrote that part, but I agree. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Reid, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production, singular, no S. There is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
How's things?
Things are good. Things are good. Yeah, excited. Got a couple country cuts, couple Canadian country cuts within the past week of recording this, which is fun. Just got a new demo in this morning. So got that new demo buzz happening in my bones. Can't wait to get that sucker into circulation and let people say no.
Let's get the nose started.
Let
the no begin. Let the knowing begin.
Yes. So, yeah.
Let the no machine commence.
Fire up the no machine. Go. That's right. But it's not how many say no, it's how many say yes. So, yeah, man, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good, buddy.
Good,
man. It's a nice day. It's been a nice week. It's in the 70s, so
it is about time. It's about freaking time.
Yeah. What are we gonna learn today? Diet,
man. Yeah. So, I've looked in the mirror lately, and I'm not loving it. And I'm not loving that some of my shirts and pants aren't exactly in the rotation anymore. And so that's kind of got me thinking about diet and exercise, and which has also got me thinking about there are similarities between like physical health and your songwriting health. So I'm going to preach to myself today. And when I look back,
so this is for you.
This is for me.
It is for the climbers.
But it came from a personal place, a growing personal place. And I thought, hey, let's just turn my pain into profit here. So let's into hopefully the climbers' profit. And so we're going to talk about songwriters, diet, and exercise.
I love it. Well, before we do that, let's take care of a little business. Join the C.L.I.M.B community at facebook.com/groups/the C.L.I.M.B community. And this is a thriving group of listeners of this podcast who are hooking up on co-writes, getting questions answered about marketing and music promotion. It's singers, songwriters, indie artists, indie musicians like you, cool hang. And, listen, this is where the movers and the shakers and the beautiful people hang out, and you need to be there too. right?
Mhm.
So you got to ask to be let in. We let everybody in, and it's a big support thing, man. We want to hear about your wins. We want to hear about your latest song, your latest gig, all that. We've got a place to put it. Just pay attention for 5 seconds, and you'll know it ain't supposed to be on the feed. And
Mm.
if you put it in as a comment on the post, then you're going to get lots of high fives and hell yeahs and attaboys and attagirls. And it's good, man. Just wield the tool the right way.
That's right,
We got
that's
any
right.
wins?
Yeah, we sure do. We always have some wins in the climb community,
I
and I'm
love
happy to
that.
share them here. So here's a few from the New Heights post that we do each week when I'm on my game, and it's where we encourage you to share your wins, big or small. We love them all. We're all on journeys. Some people are just leaving base camp, some people are approaching the summit, but it's all the same mountain, and we're all pulling for each other. So today we have one from Patrick Adams. He says, this week my high point involves my different teams of collaborators. I sent off 6 songs for NSAI evaluation and received all feedback reviews pretty quickly this time. 3 of the 6 were recognized as ones to watch. So that's kind of like the cream of the crop over there at NSAI. This tells me that
Nice.
I'm on some great teams with amazing co-writers. Also, I had a song sent to a label with some feedback of serious consideration with their artist. So let's just say it's been a good day. So a giant shout out to all of my collaborators, especially Karen Fraden, Chris Tiscarino, Brad Hacker, Sunday Joe Graham, Brent Baxter, Steve Lombardo, and Michael McFarland. They're aces. You can't beat them. Blessed to share and be on this journey. Big things are afoot around here. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, and so you
Nice.
get people like Brad and Patrick having a conversation below that, Michael McFarland going, great work, man. People encouraging each other. So that's some good stuff. So Terry Burt's, shouting in on that, giving Patrick Adams ups. So you could love to see it. Some conversation, some relationship building going on in here. And these folks are everyone he listed up, are climbers. And
I
so
love it.
it's that community, and they're getting some response. So love that. We
I
also
love it. I
have
love it. I love it.
Yeah, we also have Will and Darlene Gunnell says, I've been reaching out to potential co-writers, making connections for cuts this year. I've increased my small network by 5. Great stuff in the works. The more the merrier, and the merrier. I'd be honored to make connections. And actually leaves his, his handle here so people can find him, listen to some of his stuff. And Katie Power says, I was recently nominated for most likely to write your new favorite song at the Yeppies. That is the Yep Nashville Awards. Yep, I believe, stands for Young Entertainment Professionals. So
Yes.
she's, yeah, winning some
And
stuff
you know
there.
what
So
else?
Katie,
Like, I'm gonna tell you
good
how
job.
Katie's extra cool.
Mhm.
She's Daredevil intern.
I didn't recognize her name. I was like, oh, she's new. This is fun. And so, well, awesome,
Yep.
Katie. Thank you for putting in the work.
Yeah, her and Maddie are like, man, they're doing some really cool stuff, man. Like content stuff. So
Oh, awesome.
we're actually gonna do this whole kind of content series for Daredevil based on stuff like they learned
Mhm.
working at Daredevil. You know what I
Nice.
mean? Like
Yeah.
the epiphanies that they had, because her and Maddie both artists,
Mhm.
and so I just went to them. I'm like, I just want you to go consume this content, right? How
Mhm.
cool is that for like an internship? I'm not scratching my own back, but I'm just like, look, just
Yeah.
watch this, listen to this, read this, and tell me if anything resonates. You
Mhm.
know, like, do you like it? Are you learning anything? Like, yeah. I'm like, okay, then let's get you on camera saying that.
Yeah.
And so they're into it, man. It's just really fun to
That's awesome.
watch them get into it and sort of just like change the way that they're thinking. You know what I mean? Coming out, starting to formulate plans and strategies, and kind of getting excited to push out their own material. So I think they're both super sharp.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So all y'all,
Yeah.
congrats and keep on climbing.
There we go. All
Yep.
right. So listen, follow or subscribe to the podcast, depending on what platform you're on. Leave a rating and review on iTunes and tell a friend about it. Like,
Mhm.
if you're listening to this, it's not because we're beautiful or because you've got nothing else to do. It's because you're getting something out of it. Tell somebody else about it. That's the best way you can pay tribute to Brent and I, is by getting somebody else to come on board and say, man, this is the killer podcast. You want to be as cool as Ashley Gorley when he tells people They should be listening to our podcast.
I'm surprised it's taking me that long to mention that.
Me too.
Yeah. So that was nice. Yeah, when Johnny's out and climb he meets a new climber, new to Johnny, and he's like, "Yeah, Ashley Gorley turned me on to it." Then you're like, "I'm going to text Brent about that immediately."
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know him, but he's a long time climber. He's been like 4 years.
That's awesome. So,
He's like, "Yeah, Ashley." When I first moved to town, Ashley, because he grew up with Ashley, I guess, and he's like, and he just came over and was like super cool, introduced himself, which I love. I mean,
oh
I love
yeah,
it when they do that. And he's like, "Dude, you're Johnny, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Hey, man, like, yeah, blah blah. I did this and went into the military, like right out of high school. Ashley came down here, and then I came down, and he's got a pub deal now. I mean, he's
yeah.
mover and a shaker, and he's like, when I first got to town, Ashley was like, "Here's a bunch of podcasts you got to listen to," and one of them was the Climb.
Well, I guess we can take full credit for everything that's happened to both Ashley and this other climber in the previous 4 years. Then, so
That
there we go.
I
That's like
think
81
so.
number ones. So there we go. Yeah, all right. Yeah, we go.
Well, I think that well, I mean, so in that, right? So first of all, that just makes my night, right? Like when a climber comes up and it's like, "Man, I just love what you do. It's super
Hmm.
cool," and blah blah blah. And then, but then he's like, and Ashley Corley's my friend. He's the one who turned me on to her. I was like, "Wait, what?" Back up again to that other part. So,
Right. So be like
super cool,
Ashley
dude.
Gorley. Tell your friends about the climb.
That's right. All right. So, what are we going to learn
All
today?
right. All right. So, again, we're talking about the songwriter's diet, and we'll get into some exercise too. But it's not what you do once in a while that defines what you are. Now, serial killers not included in this, right? So it's not what you do just once in a while that defines who you are. It's what you repeatedly do that defines what you are. Like Olympic athletes, right? So we just came out of the Olympics. Uh, they don't just train every now and then. Their training is a habit. It's a discipline. It's a daily part of their lifestyle. And I'm thinking about that word lifestyle. All right. That's a big word. Like, what is the style of your life? How are you living out the pursuit of your dreams? Are you living out the pursuit of your dreams? And
Right.
so just thinking about that, going back to that our cold open there, eating a greasy cheeseburger once a month doesn't make you fat. Just like eating a salad once a month doesn't make you skinny. It's
That's right.
that habit. It's the power of habit, like Charles, I think Duhigg would say. It's what we repeatedly do. I actually just saw a quote from I think it was the One Thing book. I just saw it online on one of the Instagram things. It's
Oh, Hanlon's book?
no, 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 no. The One Thing, which is I can't remember the guy's name. No, I think I just said it, but Charles Duhigg, Power Habit. But or the One Thing, I can't remember who wrote that one. But anyway, it was on Instagram, and it's basically like um it's not your choices or whatever that determine your future. It's your habits that do. Your choices determine your habits, and your habits determine your future, kind of thing.
Right.
Like just the power of habit. The habits are what will tell you what your future is. And so habits are important. So I'm just thinking about that. And now I just want to be clear. I'm not saying you should be writing as much as a lot of the pros do, because realistically, most of us can't write from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or even 3 or 4 nights a week. Several of you have jobs, you have families. I get that. Heck, I live that. I mean, like just, full disclosure, I have to balance the needs of family. Hello, 5 kids and a wife. I have to balance, songwriting pro, balance the climb. It's a beautiful Thursday, prime co-writing time in the middle of the day, but we're recording climb right now. So
Mhm.
I'm not writing right now. So I'm not writing as many songs as I did back in 2005 when I signed my first publishing deal and was single and wrote over 100 songs that year. That was a lot of fun. Now the season I'm in now is good too, but I'm just in a different season of life. I'm not able to write as much as I'd like to at times. So this isn't just a guilt trip of going, you have to write all the time. Just like you don't exercise all the time and you aren't constantly nibbling on lettuce to get skinny,
Right.
right? So maybe you have a full-time job or kids with special needs or both. This isn't about laying a guilt trip on you. But the thing is your lifestyle saying the same thing as your mouth? If your mouth or your social media says that you want to be a pro songwriter, but your lifestyle says you want to watch TV on the couch 28 out of 30 nights a month, there's a problem. there's a disconnect. And that disconnect is going to keep you from connecting to your dreams. You know,
Mhm.
are you, I've heard it said that if you really want to know what's important to someone, you don't listen to what they say. You
Watch what
look
they
at their
do.
calendar and you look at their checkbook,
Oh,
and
yeah,
that
yeah.
will
What
tell
they're
you what's
spending money on.
really important to people.
Mhm.
Where do they spend their time? Where do they spend their money? You know, and look at your calendar, look at your checkbook, and it'll show you what's really important to you. You know, not that you have to spend a lot of money to write songs, you know, but it is showing you, boy, am I making
But
trips to
time you do,
time.
you
It
know?
costs time.
And so, okay, so I gotta be the heavy, right? I'm gonna be the
Yep.
heavy. Um, I don't have enough time to write because I got a full-time job.
Mhm.
Here's my answer, Paul DeMarco. I don't have a lot of time
Yeah.
to write because I got a family. Here's my answer, Paul DeMarco.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot I got a long commute to my job.
Mhm.
So therefore that takes away from my writing time, Paul DeMarco. Like, he listens to the climb on his commute.
Yeah.
He's got a long commute, full-time job, got a family. He's got all that. And
And wrote
yet
wrote like
how many
400 songs
freaking
last year. Like 400
jeez,
songs.
man.
Yeah.
Why? Because he's a professional songwriter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
He treats it like a pro.
yeah. And I think I don't know. I think people don't do that because they're deep down maybe they're afraid of rejection or something like that.
Yeah, I think there are many things, and Stephen Pressfield has a lot to say about that in his book, The War of Art, about the resistance, which I definitely recommend to everybody listening. The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. I have no skin in that game other than I want you to win. And I think that book can help you win. And it's an easy read too, but it will kick your butt. It's easy. The words are easy. The meaning behind the words will make, yeah, it'll punch you in the face. But yeah, are you following through? You know, it's easy to post, "Hey, I'm a songwriter, you know, wrote a song last month or whatever," and you're not actually doing it. So if you say you want to lose 20 pounds, which, yeah, that sounds about right for me. I'd like to lose about 20. But anyway,
Yeah.
if you say you want to lose 20 pounds, but your diet, which is how you eat on a regular basis, is full of pizza, Cokes, or soft drinks, or pop, potato chips, and only the occasional salad, you're never going to lose that weight, right? Oh, I had a salad once this month, but everything else has been pizza, and I'm eating like it's Christmas and Thanksgiving every day. You're not going to lose that weight, right? It's what you do repeatedly. Likewise, if you say you want to be a pro or a great songwriter, even if you don't have professional aspirations, but you just want to be great at it, but your diet consists of mostly not writing or lazy writing with only occasional serious writing, you're not going to turn pro. You're not going to get great. You're not putting in the time that it requires. Just like there's no easy way to, just like man, in America, I'd say we're overly blessed. Our cup and
Mhm.
our bellies runneth over. That it's society is basically geared for you to, gain weight and not be healthy, right? Because the food is super sugary, high calorie, it's super tasty, and we're always putting it in your face. It's readily available for most people, and most of our lives are pretty sedentary. We're sitting behind a desk. I'm sitting behind a desk right now. Likewise, man, society and stuff is set up for you not to put in the time and be really successful as a songwriter because you have day jobs, you have family, you have friends that want to go out and drink or go out and watch a movie and do all this other stuff. And it's not, your life isn't naturally geared toward you putting in the time to get healthy with your songwriting. It's built the opposite. It's built for you to do everything but write songs. So
Yeah.
if you're just passive and you go with the flow is going to lead you away from your guitar or your pen or your notebook or whatever it is. And so you have to build your life in a different way if you want to get different results.
Hey, I
And
got a question for
you have to be intentional. Yeah.
you. Because I was just kind of really just so impressed and blown away by that whole thing we had, that interview we had with O'Hanlon and DeMarco and
Mhm.
Lucy LeBlanc. Um, so like when I'm
And that's
when I'm
episode
talking,
315 if y'all want to listen to that one, episode 315.
yeah, killer. I mean, these guys combined, they wrote over 1,000 songs, right? Last
Last
year, the
year,
three of
yeah,
them.
something like that, yeah. Some together, but yeah, a lot of them
So,
together, but
I mean, when I'm talking about um, starting any kind of a process, right? And
Mhm.
making it more habitual, more intentional, more blah blah blah. It's always like the first one is like the bitch of the bunch, right? Like that
Yeah.
first piece of content that you put together is going to take forever.
Mhm.
But your 20th one is going to take like 10% of the time that the first one took because
Yeah.
now you have momentum, you have groove, right?
Mhm.
Would you say it's the same for songwriting?
For sure. The hardest part about writing a song is not writing a song. The hardest part about writing a song is sitting down to write a song.
Yeah.
That is, for me, I know the hardest part is just now I'm gonna do it because my life is built. Even I mean, I do music full time. I'm like I do songwriting pro in the climb and write songs. That is my gig. Thank the Lord. Even that, it's so easy not, you got to make time. It's kind of easy not to. Yeah, I have some people that hit me up like, "Hey, let's write." It makes it easier, right? People coming to you, but it's still so easy not to sit down and write a song, especially
Right.
doing like solo writing. And so I have to be intentional. I have to set up systems and processes to put that in front of me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
never forget about it because it's, see the wall behind me. I see that every day in my office. And like, it's I come out to the office and it's full of like records and guitars and all that stuff, but still making time for I can be surrounded by it, but still not do it if I'm not careful. So I'm
Yeah.
not immune to this either. I mean, nobody is. Welcome, buckle up. This is a lifelong pursuit.
Yeah.
It's not a
Yeah.
lifelong catching, it's a lifelong pursuit. But and so I want to talk about some of those ways to, just like with diet and exercise, you have to be intentional. It
Yeah,
doesn't
so
happen
and let me
accidentally.
just
Yeah.
finish up that one thought 'cause I was
Okay.
also kind of attributing this to, like, a marathon runner,
Yeah.
right? Like, once they get past 5 miles,
Mhm.
this sort of groove happens, you know what I mean? Now, I know that has a lot to do, like, endorphins and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but, it's the first 5 that are the hardest.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, once those 3, O'Hanlon and DeMarco and LeBlanc sat down and said, "We're gonna friggin' have a contest about writing songs."
Mhm.
Right? And not to shame anybody into, like, a volume or whatever, but the point
Yeah.
being that, they all have their they've all got stuff going on, and because they did this, I feel like once that ball got rolling,
Mhm.
once they wrote their first, like, 20 songs on this quest, like,
Yeah.
for DeMarco, the other 385 were a lot easier, right? Because
Oh,
it
yeah.
was just do you know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
just is like, "Get it going, man. Just get it going."
I think,
So,
one thing smart that they did was they built a tribe, you know, uh,
yeah.
to, they call it a co-opetition,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's cooperative competition, which everybody wins, everybody gets better, no matter who, Paul, he wrote the most songs, so technically he won, but everybody won. There was not a loser in the bunch, right?
And
Everybody
a
ends up
bunch
better
of
than they started
we failed to ask them, like, how many of each of their numbers were co-writes with each other.
with each other, right? Yeah, a bunch,
A
because they
bunch
have
of them were.
standing rights,
Yeah.
and so I think when you gamify it, when you make it a coopetition, hard for me to say, then it keeps it in front of you. There's a saying that what gets measured gets managed. Like
Yeah.
if you
Like that
measure it,
$20 bill on the wall.
you're gonna pay attention to it. You're gonna manage it. What are your key performance indicators, KPIs, right? In the business world, they talk about KPIs. What's my key performance indicator? That way, it helps you stay on track to what is actually important, and not just work for work's sake or just being busy and just kind of an octopus on roller skates. A lot of activity, but it's not really going anywhere. And so I think that's a smart thing that they did is like, okay, that way we're throwing our numbers around. So it's always like in our faces, reminding me what I'm striving for is to go write another song. And you can cheer each other on and you can be like, oh darn that Lucy LeBlanc, she's ahead now or whatever. And I think
Mhm.
that's smart. And I do some stuff it's not quite gamification, but it is measuring. And I've talked many times about the calendar, and I found a spot in my new office here that it is right across from my desk. Like it's on the wall opposite my desk. And I can see that, here we are in March, and I have a good amount of color on my calendar. So what I do is I have different colors for different things that are KPIs for my life.
Mhm.
And, there's Am I doing my Bible study prayer time? Am I writing a song? Am I hitting my access points for my different writers? Am I hitting my 10? And if I am, then I have these different colors and that sort of thing. And so I'm looking at my calendar going, okay, I want to put those mark on the wall, for today. Because once it's gone, I can't. And that place is going to be blank. And some days you just can't. You got sick kids or you're sick or wife sick or whatever. But I'm looking over there going, all right, good. I got a lot of red, I got a lot of green, I got a lot of black on here. I want to put that other. And it's always a little bit of a celebration when I get to go walk up there, pop the top off the pen and put that little line on the calendar. It gives me a good feeling like, yeah, I did it.
A dopamine hit.
A little dopamine hit, better than a Facebook like, and I have the habit
Mhm.
tracker book that I look at every day that says, did you come up with your daily title habit? Did you do that? Yes, I did. Did you write today? Yes. Did you work on recording? Yes. Did I work on access? Yes. Did I work on pitching? Yes. And other personal things as well. And so it puts it in front of me every day because at least every work day I'm coming out here, I'm looking at that thing and I'm marking stuff off, and there's that little dopamine hit, and
Mhm.
it's my diet. It's my songwriting diet. Um, and so I think what gets measured gets managed. How can you build up some exercises that will give you, that steady progress? Just like exercise, it's not like, oh, I go work out one time, I go hit the gym one time, and now I'm, I don't hit it again for another month. Well, that really didn't do you any good other than get you sore. So how can I show up every day and get that thing going? Because I think that momentum is a huge deal when you start seeing progress. And the Jerry Seinfeld thing of, hey, Jerry, how do you become a successful comedian? Or how do you write great jokes? He goes, well, I got a calendar. And every day I'd write a joke, I put an X on the calendar. And I just try not to break the chain. I get a streak going. And I just try not to break the chain. And yes, some
Yeah,
jokes
because
will be
once you
better
get
than
that
others.
streak going, it becomes more valuable to nobody else but you,
Mhm.
and you're like, "Oh, you just don't wanna
I don't want
never break the chain. Never
to break
break
the
the
chain.
chain."
You're right. And if you break the chain, well, okay, tomorrow start off a new one, and that little break in the chain's gonna tick you off when you see it every day. That's the other thing, put
Yeah,
it where you see it every day and you're like, dang it. Yeah, but you can't go back. Can't go back and fix it. But I can get today's mark.
I can control right now. Yep.
That's what I can do. And so I think things like that are smart. So how can I put it in front of me? How can I gamify it? How can I, maybe it is a competition with some other co-writers going. And I have mixed feelings on just saying numbers of songs, right? Because it's not just quantity; it's also quality, and there's other things that factor into it. So it's not just about how many, but maybe it is like doing streaks.
Yeah,
Did you write today? Did you come up with the title today? Did you come up with an idea today? Did you pick up your guitar today? And maybe you get, there's so many apps for like streaks and stuff, and I'm sure there are some that are probably collaborative where you can go on with people and make teams and challenges and stuff. I don't know if there is, but that'd be a good thing. Like, can you find that with a couple of writers? One thing I was
yeah,
trying to do, I did for a little while, and I've gotten off this. I need to get back to it, but um, is pitching songs and having like a little community, a little tribe about song plugging, getting our songs to artists. And so
mm,
we started a little group text. Me and Zane King, Donna King, they're a couple Southern gospel writers and artists, and a couple other folks. And I would just like text them when I pitched a song, not their song, maybe their song, but it didn't matter. It wasn't about, pitching one of their songs. I already try to text every co-writer when I pitch a song. So if you haven't heard from me, sorry. But anyway, this was going, hey, pitch a song, I just did a quick one, pitch a song for Dirks Bentley today. Thumbs up or, fingers crossed.
mhm,
And they might be like, great, or whatever. And they'd be like, yeah, we pitched a song to Brian Free and Assurance today, or we pitched a song to Del McCurry today, or whoever. And just kind of keeping that thread going where you're trying to normalize it and have that diet and put it in front of you. Like, so if I get a text in from Zane going, pitch a song to Crab Family or whoever, maybe someone like Southern Gospel more in that world, what does that make me do? Oh, yeah, I need to be plugging. Where can I go? Do I have a song for the Crab Family? Huh. You know, or you get that text and you realize the last 4 texts were from him. And I haven't sent one because I haven't pitched one. well, it's time. So it's reminded,
It
you
puts a
know?
little pressure on yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I need to go do that. And I will, like, there are times when, like right now I'm looking at I have a notebook that, if I hit 10 kind of contact points with people in the business, then I get to get that line on my calendar. I get to mark that off under access, because I'm a big fan of write, record, access, pitch. And so it's keeping my name in front of people's, right? And
Mhm.
right now, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Frequency,
7, 8,
reach
9.
and frequency.
Reach and frequency, right? I'm at 9 right now. You don't count, Johnny, because I see you too
Yeah.
much. So that's cheating. So, but there are other like co-writers or people in the business that I've put my name in from somehow, or an email. It could be like Lance Carpenter. I got a text back from him because last night the Razorbacks had a big win in basketball, beat LSU by 1 point in the final couple seconds, big dramatic finish. So I have my guys that are also in the business that I text, like Barrett Baber and Steve Dean. And I'm like, go Hogs,
Yeah.
and, but that counts.
Is Baber from Arkansas?
Baber's an Arkansas. Yeah, he's a Razorback.
He's an Arkansan?
He is an Arkansan. That's for
Arkansan?
darn sure. So, so I have these guys that, but so it's not about business, but it is a relationship and it is reach and frequency, just putting, in a positive way,
Yeah.
in front of me. So I'm at 9. So you know what that's going to make me do? I'm going to look and go, well, I need to get to number 10 because I want that line. I'm so close. Like, who can I reach out to? I'll scroll through my phone, and just like, oh, hadn't talked to them in a while. Boom. Hey, just thinking about you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. God bless. By the way, our song, blah, 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 is killer. We need to get that sucker cut done or something.
Yeah.
And just so I
Yeah.
can like it. So it does push me on because I'm measuring it. So I'm managing it. So I reach out to more people so especially these days and where I'm not living in the middle of Nashville anymore, I have to be more intentional on bumping into people because I'm not going to bump into them at the post office or on Demumbrian or
Right.
Sony, so I have to reach out.
Yep.
And so I'm trying to be mindful of that. And so that's part of my diet because write, record, access, and pitch is it's not just writing if you want to be professional and get paid. It
Right.
is
You
writing.
have a well-balanced meal.
You got to have
You got your
nice,
meats and
good,
cheeses, and
my
you've got
proteins,
your
my whatever.
vegetables. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. I do want to have a balanced plate. And every day I'm trying to get my nutrition, which is my write, record, access, pitch. And so, are you doing that? How is your plate really? So almost like writing, I mean, it's foundational, but it's also almost the junk food because I can eat all that and not do the other stuff, right? Because that's the fun stuff is writing. Even though it's hard to sit down and do it, that's the most fun stuff to
That's the
do.
main itch that you wanna scratch, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm.
That's the reason you do it to begin with. Any of all this other
Yeah.
crap that you gotta do, it starts with scratching that artistic itch to wanna write. And
Mhm.
and I'll say this too, like, you started out your cold open on this episode was talking about, 1 greasy hamburger a month isn't going to make you fat, and
Right.
1 salad a month isn't gonna make you skinny, right?
Mhm.
But also at the same time, like, just eating salad isn't healthy, and
Right.
just
Yeah.
eating meat isn't healthy, right?
Yeah.
So if you're just writing, then, um, I
You're
mean,
gonna you need
you
some
could
fiber
have
because your songs are gonna
you
get all constipated, and
yeah,
you're gonna
you
be
could
backed
have
up,
the
and there's gonna be
dance.
no outlet.
You could have the next big iconic song, The Dance, in your portfolio, and nobody's ever gonna hear it.
Yeah, because you haven't done record, access, pitch, right?
Boom.
And if all you're doing is accessing people, but you don't have any songs, you don't have your chops up because you're not putting in the work on writing, a bunch of people are gonna know you're a mediocre songwriter. Congratulations.
Yep.
So and so, yeah, everyone knows him. I mean, I'm not gonna ride with them or cut his songs, but everyone knows him. That doesn't do you any good either. Same thing with pitching. If you don't, you gotta have that balance. And are there ways? So I have myself on my daily tracker calendar that going, I want to mark these off. I don't, for me, recording, since I don't record, it's am I meeting with somebody? Am I texting somebody about moving the ball down the field on doing a demo on a song? Or one of my demo interns, did we have a meeting today and they're working on it? And yes, okay, get to mark that off. Just to remember, it takes all that because it's not enough to write it. I got to get them across the finish line. And, what are some ways that you can do that? So it's the calendar thing, it's the habit tracker, it's the coopetition. thing,
Mhm.
the text thread with your buddies, because really the people that have success, it is a culture within their group, and it is a habit of writing, recording, accessing, pitching. They hit all these things. That's what they do. And that's
Mhm.
super important. So we talked about diet. It's what you do consistently. That is kind of your diet. But let's talk about some exercises before we get too
Okay.
long into this one, right? So diet and exercise. A healthy diet is good, but a healthy diet coupled with exercise is where you really start making gains. So it's true for your physical health. In the case of songwriting, I think it's true too. It's a way that you can gain consistency in your writing. So, uh, okay, so I got my calendar and it says write on it, and I want to be able to mark that off. But does that mean I have to sit down and write a full song and spend 2, 3, 4 hours doing that? Oh, I may not have that every day.
Mhm.
I got a sick kid or I got whatever. Um, so here's some exercises that they're great warm up exercises, or they can be great. Like, this is literally all I have time for today, but I get to mark that off the list and it moves the ball down the field. It's a healthy snack, versus
Mhm.
nothing. So the song title habit. So you may not be a title first writer, but I usually am. I usually start with the title and go from there. So the more titles I have at my disposal, the better. How do you how do you write great titles? Write a bunch of bad ones. How do you find
Yep.
great titles? Find a bunch of bad ones, and that's how you find the great ones. But where do those titles come from? Well, they come from many places. It might be conversation, it might be inspiration from other songs, it might be Bible study, it might be 1,000 places. But, you know, if you're not careful, you can get so busy with life that you can go weeks without writing down a new title. So that's why I started the song title habit. So, um, and this came from James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. So I do habit stacking, or at least I did for a while. And so I had to have a little notebook is dedicated to song titles. And my goal is to write down a song title a day. Okay. And if I do
Mhm.
that, I'm going to have a bunch to choose from to do some other stuff that we'll talk about in a minute. And okay, how do I make myself do that every day? Well, what do I see every day? Well, about the one thing I see every day is my vitamins, right? So I put that notebook with a pen in it right next to my vitamins, because even on weekends when I'm not going to the office or whatever, I'm still taking my vitamins, hopefully. And
Mhm.
so, that would be in the morning. So as my coffee's percolating or whatever, I go taking my vitamins, and there's that notebook. Oh yeah, I got to think of a song title. What could it
That's
be?
awesome. That's
Uh,
genius.
Make
It's
it
like
make it.
it's another vitamin.
It is. It's like, yeah, it's my day. Yeah, my title vitamins, vitamins. Um, and so that's called habit stacking. When you anchor a new habit that you want to start onto an existing habit. My existing
Mm.
habit was take my vitamins. So the new habit I want to stack, I want to get going. I anchor it to that, and it's like the daily title habit, song title habit. So that cues me. Oh yeah, I got to do this other thing too. So I don't have to be reminded to take my vitamins, but that reminds me to do this other thing. And so I'd write down a title. And sure enough, I've written songs off those titles, and a
I've
lot of
never
them
thought of this, but
are,
taking that little notebook with that pen and putting a little hook, and I'm not trying to be gross here, but I'm just trying to be realistic,
oh
like,
boy.
right next to the toilet paper.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It,
You're like, because 'cause you're visiting that every day, you know?
seriously. Yeah.
That's not a habit that you even have that you even try to keep, it just happens naturally, and so you're like, "Well, I got some time.
Yeah.
I could write a hook."
Exactly. Yeah. You will not get creatively constipated if you do that. So yeah, what is an existing habit? Like, for a while I was like, every time I walk up the stairs to come into my office, drop and give me 20. you know,
Yep.
that's his cue. Oh, I walked in the office. Oh, I drop everything. I got to get back on that. But I don't have stairs up in my office anymore. But so that's one thing, song title habit. And so now I've moved it out to my office. And so I'm not good about doing it on weekends because it's in my office, but it's on my desk. It's mentioned in my habit tracker thing that I look at religiously every day and go, oh yeah, daily title. I want to mark that sucker off. Okay, what's the title? Let me think of something. I'm looking around. I'm listening to songs. I'm like, okay, what is one? It doesn't take long. You put it down. Some are better. Most are worse than others, but you start doing that, and you start building that habit of going for titles. So it's like, yeah, again, what gets measured gets managed. All right, a little more on where to find song titles, right? So I don't want this to be an actionable episode for you guys. Maybe all you have time for today is just do that title, but you can do buried treasure, which is basically you're going through and you're looking through lyrics of other songs. Like, you're not jacking their title, but maybe there's a phrase in there that's super interesting. Maybe you go down the lyric genius, rabbit hole, or on one of your streaming services that pulls up the lyrics as well, and you're just looking for an interesting phrase, right? You can get it from book titles, movie titles, that kind of thing. I'm not looking at for other song titles, but there might be, like, in the middle of it, some line that you're like, oh, that's cool. Monday Morning Church came from a line in a poem that my mom wrote. There's just a line about, Teacher's Day. She's like, I walk outside at 4:30 and the parking lot's as empty as a Monday morning church. And I was like, bah! And life change.
Gold.
Yeah. And things happen, right? So that was buried treasures, buried in a line in a poem. And so that can be a thing where you get, book of poetry. I'm just looking, and I look through it, or books of song lyrics, and go, I'm not looking to jack their title, but there might be a phrase that's interesting. And then boom, I got it, and I'll figure out what to do with it later. Don't even have to know what it
Good
is.
artists borrow, great artists steal.
Right. I'm reading that book by Austin Kleon right now, Steal Like an Artist.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like podcast episodes, maybe get on iTunes while, you're looking at the climb. And I was thinking about this for, like, gospel writers. Like, all these sermons are on podcasts. All these different churches have their sermons, and the
Oh,
sermons
yeah.
have titles. And I'm like, I need to do that to find
A bottomless well of
a
content,
possibility. Yeah. And
ideas.
go,
Yeah.
okay, how many of these sermon titles can be? Because I know of people that, I think Mark Forrester talked about that. He'll be in church, and his pastor knows if all of a sudden you see Mark, face down in his phone, thumbs going away, it's because that preacher said something that he's turned into a song.
Yeah.
So sermon
I
titles.
remember that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So he gets forgiven.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll tie 20%
He's
on
not
this one.
defocusing. He's like hyper focusing.
He's
Yeah.
hyper focusing on, I'm really getting the point, So take 5 minutes and browse through podcast episodes or other lyrics, and with a pen and paper handy. So that's
Yep.
a way to do it, instead of just staring off into space. So not, because for a while there, a lot of my titles were like coffee, bacon, tired. Because
Yeah.
I was in the first thing in the morning taking my vitamins, getting ready for school. I was like, okay, I need to broaden this out a little bit more. So that's some way to do that. Another exercise is a song title challenge, which you should know by now, right? And that's on my, that will get me my writing slash on my daily writing thing. Because, man, when I do that, that's how I build up when I go into a write. That's how I have ideas, and that's why people like to see me coming. Because, like, oh, what ideas you got? Show me what you got. Well, here's how. It's because I have this unending list of titles, and then I go through and I'm turning those titles into ideas on a consistent basis. So I love that feeling of being rich and being a little frustrated that I have more titles and ideas that I want to write than I'm going to have time to write. I like being a little
Content
frustrated by
rich.
that, right?
Yeah.
I like having a little bit
Yeah.
of that frustration going, oh man, because I'm a lyricist. I'm not going to write them all myself. I need to bring them into somebody. But I like that little tension of, dadgummit, I'm not going to be able to write. I'm not ever going to get to all these, am I? But that's a fun tension. Because again,
Yeah.
that means I get to pick the cream of the crop. But because there's nothing worse than walking into a co-write and feeling like you don't have something magical that you may not write it that day, but I want to have some stuff that I walk in with and feel super stoked about. Like, and also just shows respect. You've done your homework. You're bringing good stuff to the buffet, to the potluck. You're bringing good dishes. You're bringing the fried chicken, not just the congealed salad. You're bringing the good stuff, and they want to see you coming, right?
Congealed salad.
Yeah, I don't get that. Anyway, so that's on my list. So that'll get me that writing credit for that day. That extends that streak, and not every day is magic on that, but man, so consistently as you do it, the machinery's up and running. I mean, creativity is the renewable resource. The more you use it, the more you get of it. You're not going to run out. So the more you're keeping that, pump primed and just working that pump, the more creativity, more content and stuff it pumps out. Just how it
Love
is,
it.
you know? So you don't get rusty in between co-writes. Maybe you're at a day job and you're outside of Nashville and you just don't get a co-write with people very often because you just haven't built up yet. Well, these are good exercises to keep you from being rusty when you walk in the room and going, I haven't done this in so long. You don't want that, you know? So another thing is journaling. So get in touch with yourself and get comfortable with telling the truth in a safe environment because nobody has to see it. Or maybe it's something like the 5-minute journal or gratitude journal. Maybe it's just it's a guided journal where they give you the topic, you know, and it's like, okay, that's my topic for today. I'm going to write about that. That may be a 10-15 minute exercise that you weave in with your, you know, because your
Yeah,
daily title habit daily, that doesn't get you off the hook. That doesn't get me my writing credit for the day.
right.
That's a different thing. Um,
That's the artist's way. I mean, it's like you gotta write for a half hour every day.
Yeah, and maybe you don't have a half hour. Maybe you have 10 minutes. Pat Pattison talked about object writing, and in one of his books, like Writing Better Lyrics, I believe. He's like, set a timer early in the morning before you go to work or whatever. Get up 10 minutes earlier. Pick a noun, so a person, place, or thing, and start writing sensory images about that noun until the timer runs out, till the timer goes off. So if you're like airport, then it's all stuff I can, you know, sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing, all that stuff, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
so it's like,
Oh,
I don't
that's
know,
good. That's cool. That's really
the
cool.
wheels on my suitcase bump against the escalator, you know, the grids in the escalator as I'm walking, you know, ahead of the escalator. It's pop, 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 pop. The announcer's coming on, telling me not to leave my bags unattended. The smell of the Starbucks, the bunch of people in line, you know, looking
The
sleepy.
big luggage cart I have has a squeaky wheel, like a crappy, grocery store cart.
Yeah. It's, seeing the screens for arrivals and departures and people with their sleepy, you know, the little neck pillow wrapped, you know, around their head
Mhm.
coming off the plane or getting on, and this lady has a little chihuahua in a carrier and it's barking his head off and whatever. Just go for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then when the timer goes off, stop. And congratulations, you did your job for the day. And hopefully what that does is it kind of wakes up the writer in you for the day because you're not
Well,
done. You
because you 'cause
stopped in the middle.
you're not trying to concentrate on a lyric, which is cool.
Yeah.
You're just trying to concentrate on specificity. Like, describe all
Mhm.
the furniture,
It
right?
builds your furniture muscle. Like
Yeah.
I'm moving furniture, you know, it builds that muscle. So next time you go into a write, for one thing, if, hey, I got
I
this
wanna
idea
do
about,
that just to do it. Like,
it's
that's
fun. I
yeah.
enjoy doing it. I'm a writer. I like to do that. And I'll capture memories of places, right? And capture them. But also, you know, maybe make some stuff up, but it's all sensory stuff. So if you're going to co-write and somebody's like, hey, what if we put this in an airport? This, you know, give the context of this idea in the airport. You're like, oh, well, let me, you know, flip over here and like, ooh, now I have all this imagery, right? That maybe it could
Mhm.
fit in there. But or even if you don't refer to it, it's building that muscle of going, okay, what's it look like? What's it taste like? What's it smell like? What's it sound like? Of so much is that's so important, especially in country music. It builds that furniture muscle. You're just lifting furniture. And so it's going to help you do that more easily. Cause especially if you're not used to it, then this is a way to start building that muscle in a way that there's no pressure. You don't have a co-writer sitting across from you and you can do it in 10 minutes a day. Uh,
Yeah.
Another thing, you mentioned the commute earlier. I got this from Jimmy Yeary. I mean, he wrote "I Drive Your Truck." He's several number ones. He's legit, and he'll do. He said he'll drive on, like as he's going to drive to the row, warming up in the morning. It's like a warm up thing that he does. He'll just start as he's looking around as he's driving, just start out loud describing what he sees.
Mm.
And to be like, oh, there's a girl on a billboard for the Crazy Horse, and there's, you know, something for Coyote, and there's Nudie's Honky Tonk billboard, and there's you know, another construction crane going up, and it's doing this number, and there's a car in front of me has, you know, part of his fender hanging off, dragging the ground, and there's somebody else, you know, the smoke pouring out the back of the car, and there's, you know, the sunset and this, you know, or the sunrise and whatever, and you got this and that, and he's just describing, you know, what he's seeing. And he
Yeah.
said for him, it loosens up the words, right? The word and you're practicing describing things.
Yeah.
And he's doing that on his commute as he's driving. So he's not getting distracted. He's just practicing out loud. Now, if you ride the bus or the train, that might be a little awkward.
You might be a crazy person. Yeah.
But Yeah, people are looking at me like they don't know what I'm doing. People are calling the cops. Somebody's calling 911. People in blue are showing up. They have handcuffs. Oh, that's for me. Describe what you're seeing. You know, lady next to me looking really, really nervous. Lady next to me, not next to me anymore. She moved off. All right, what's next? But he does that to, get the words flowing, start getting on output, like priming the pump and working on that furniture muscle and all that stuff. So I'm like, hey, if Jimmy does it, Jimmy's had a lot of number ones. I think you should listen to him. So those are some exercises. So object writing, I call that the commute play-by-play. Again, the play-by-play of your morning commute. Journaling, song title challenge, song title habit. Those are just some exercises that if you build those in, man, mark it as a list. I want to try and mark off every time I do it, and not just write down when I do it, but have it on a list of to do every day. Get one of those journal books. It cost me like $7. I ordered it off Amazon. It's a habit tracker logbook and goes for a year of building habits. And you write down what habits you want to do, and then you just mark them off. And that'll give you a good feeling. You keep it where you see it. And so it will remind you. And that will help you build that songwriter habit that's so important for if you want to turn pro or just be great at it. So that's what I got.
I love it. Well, that brings us to the end of another challenge of another
It is a challenge.
Episode. It is a challenge. This is a writing challenge. Yeah. Make sure that you join the C.L.I.M.B community. Follow or subscribe to the podcast, whatever platform you're on there. Leave a rating and review and tell a friend about us. This podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.